Alright, it says we're streaming, but I'll just double check it on the thing before we start discussing anything. I think we're live. Thing before we start discussing anything. Chat messages will be flagged. Not now. Alright. Yeah, we're definitely live, bro. It looks all set up on the YouTube side of things, and I suppose
Sweet.
we can just start discussing it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the chat starting to come through, man. So we'll start discussing now. And then it'll be uploaded after this, so that's all good for us. So, welcome, guys. If you're tuning into a live stream, my name's Dane from Clarkey's NRL column, joined by Oliver from NRL In My Opinion. How you going, Oz?
I am doing pretty good. Yourself?
Very well. All right, so last week, guys, or last weekend gone, we came up with a top 10 series. Possibly a little bit controversial, but I suppose when you're giving your opinion on such a proud sport where, everyone loves to have an opinion, you're going to have controversy. So we're going to come on here today, discuss why we made some of the selections for our top 10 back rowers, as well as sort of interact and discuss some of the feedback and the comments we got from you guys in the process. So we'll start off today with our top 10 back rowers. So we had Sam Burgess at number 1, John Bateman, Boyd Cordner, Britton Nakora, Ryan Madison, Corey Harawira-Naera, Sean Lane, Tarek Sims, Viliami Kikau, and Kenny Bromwich. Now, for us, I certainly remember doing this with you, Oz. The first two were pretty easy to pick, right? I mean, it was Burgess and Bateman. They'd been the standouts for their teams.
Yeah. Just to add, what you'll find, guys, I guess for a lot of our picks, for at least first and second, maybe even third and fourth for some, we just knew. We didn't really have to look into too much. That's generally how it sort of happened. Especially for this one, for first and second, Sam Burgess and John Bateman have stood out above the rest. Like, clearly, far and beyond, they've been amazing.
Yeah, no doubt. We went with Boyd Cordner at number 3. Now, we had Britton Nakora there originally, and we'd actually forgotten Cordner because we were doing this heavily off stats and sort of what we've seen through the year. We got to about number 6, and then I said, crap, Oz, we've forgotten the Australian captain. But I guess that sort of speaks volumes that Cordner's... He's a bit of an unsung hero. He just gets about his business and does the typical job of a back rower every single week. When the Roosters are on their own try line, they're pinned down by defense. No one wants to have that hit up. Cordner's the guy that puts his hand up. So, it does sound a little bit silly because he is the Australian captain, but in some ways he is underrated in the amount of, I guess, the little things he does correctly in his game. We had Britton Nakora, number 4. He's also our number 1 debutant. Ryan Madison, number 6, and Corey Harawira-Naera. We'll stop there because they were our top 5. We just had Corey Harawira-Naera slipping out, with Madison slipping into the top 5 there. The top 5 there, Burgess, Bateman, Cordner, Nakora, and Madison. I don't think there's too much arguments there. They have been more or less the 5 most in-form back rowers. And then, of course, Cordner is the Australian captain. And then our bottom 5 we were looking at was between Sean Lane, Tarek Sims, Viliami Kikau, and Kenny Bromwich. Sean Lane was an easy one for us, wasn't it?
Yeah, he's been great this year. Not as good as the other players, but I tell you what, for someone coming into a new side, I believe it might have been his first or second full year. I think maybe second full year of first grade. It's definitely been one of the best players, not just positionally, in the entire squad for Parramatta. So he definitely deserved to be in there.
Yeah, definitely. And when you think about Sean Lane's career, it's hard to think he's in his young 20s. I think he's about 24, and he's already been to 4 clubs. When you start getting to that many clubs, you're known as a journeyman. But Brad Arthur went to him whilst he was at the Seagulls last year and said, I want you at my club. And Sean Lane said, ultimately, the feeling of being wanted was what drove him to Para, and he is repaying that faith with some fine form. Tarek Sims, did he just miss out on New South Wales Blues? I believe he did, right?
He did, yeah.
Probably...
Not even 18th man might have had, I believe it was today announced that Ryan Madison is the 18th man for New South Wales.
He did give that little brain snap last year, but again, his form hasn't been too great. We had him there at 8 because we thought it had been a little bit better than Frizzell. Frizzell also had that stint on the sideline after that really unfortunate testicle injury. So we had Tariq Sims slipping into our top 10. Probably a little bit controversial in some ways, guys. So what we'll do at the end here, we'll go through the Facebook and then we'll go through the live chat and reply to what some of you guys are saying there. Viliami Kikau, number 9. I mean, he hasn't been great, but he has had some spectacular moments and reminded us just how capable he is. And then we had Kenny Bromwich rounding out our number 10. Yep. He's been pretty great for Melbourne. He's set up a lot of try assists, and he's been a lot better this year. Typically, his career, he's always been looked at as Jesse Bromwich, the dominant brother, but Kenny's really coming of age and playing some good footy this year. Before we move on we'll go live stuff first. Anything you want to add to what I just said there, Oz?
Not really, no. It was, our list. We sort of compiled it. We agreed on the selections in the end, so there's not really much deliberation we can have. But, I'm interested to see what the live chat and what what comments we've received as well.
Yeah, so first one in the live chat is, what about Matt Gillette? Now, I'll go first here, but me and Oz pretty much... Gillette's at that point of his career now where he's a veteran that you love to have in your side for his experience and the little things that he does correct and the stuff that a rookie isn't necessarily accustomed to yet. But as far as form goes, I believe he's well under 100 average running meters for the year. He's not playing his best football. And rightly so. He is coming off some huge injuries, so that's the main reason we decided to leave him out. And Oz, the next one is Josh Jackson's a little bit underrated. I'll let you talk on why we left Jackson out.
Why we left Jackson out, he isn't exactly having a stellar year stats-wise either, I don't believe. Just watching the Bulldogs front row as well, there doesn't look like too much urgency when he should really be at the forefront. Leading. He's the captain. He's just been left out of the Blues squad as well. For someone who's been an incumbent and was there for a number of years, for not a single person to bring his name up for Origin either, that just goes to show how, the lack of form that he's had this season. And I believe it might have been a comment on my New South Wales post that I put up of the squad, and someone said, Josh Jackson's not there. And I thought, you know what, he's not. And I actually did not think of him at all. I don't want to say a fall from grace, but he's just not, leading the way he should be. He should be the one that sort of, creates that urgency in the forward pack. He should be, leading. They used to have that leader in James Graham. Josh Jackson used to feed off Graham well, and, get guys like Clemmer, building up as well, and that dogs of war attitude. But we've just not seen it this year, and he's just not leading that sort of aggression that you sort of see from the Bulldogs, and they just seem a bit lazy, the forward pack, and he's the one that has got to be getting them on the front foot. So
as captain, he has to sort of take that responsibility. As you said, he hasn't had a bad year, but nothing that really puts him towards top 10 sort of status now. Guys, a lot of questions in here at the moment. We'll get to the questions just a little bit later. Marata Niokore, probably not near the top 10 yet. And we've got Lockie Fitzgibbon. Yes, he was discussed. We had him just outside.
Yeah.
And Gavin Cooper, very, very poor form.
I don't.
The fact he wasn't even discussed for Origin, for me, just shows he's not near the top 10. Some of the responses we had on our Facebook page.
Alrighty.
I mean, it's definitely a lot of negativeness.
You don't exactly get a lot of comments that say, I 100% agree with this. Generally, if people agree, they'll just like it, But might I just say, for mine, majority of it was, people just giving their opinion subjective. There wasn't really much nastiness. You'd have the one or two, odd people that would say, you're an idiot or whatever. But in large part, the feedback I received was purely just people giving their opinion, which was great.
Yeah, I'm probably a little bit different. I've got a fair bit of negative feedback here, but nothing... Well, I'll just say this. There's about 54 comments on the Facebook page. No one left the top 10. There's definitely a lot of arguing, but there's a lot of, negative criticism packed in with just silliness. This list is terrible. How can you not pick Jacob Lilliman? That's a joke. He's a front row and he's retired. No Harris or Frez, righto. We left Tyson Frizzell out because his form is not that great this year, guys. He's not averaging 100 meters, and he's been injured for a fair few games. So it wasn't a hard decision. It wasn't an easy decision. It was sort of one of those ones in the middle. But in the end, we left him out. And Tohu Harris, again, he's been solid for the Warriors, but we don't think he's been a top 8 player. He hasn't had an impact on his side like that top 10 has there, as you can see. But anything else before we move on to the next position, man?
I've just had the one comment on Facebook, and that is forgetting a certain Bronco. I'd say that's probably suggesting Payne Haas, I'd have to assume. On Instagram, though, I did get Tohu Harris. I also got Joel Thompson and someone just leaving the English flag, probably happy that Semi Burgess and Johnny Bateman are up there.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, our next one is centres. So I'll just scroll back on my Facebook real quick, guys. All right, another one. Now, this one was very, very hard to do. I mean, there's no real centres putting their hands up and saying, I'm in form. I think that's probably reflected in the fact Josh Morris has just had a recall to the Origin side after a 5-year hiatus. He's a veteran. He knows how to handle the Origin experience, but the fact that someone who's been out of that arena for half a decade is getting reselected really shows that there is not too many centers putting their hands up, right?
Yeah, and just to add, I didn't even know this. Josh Morris had actually retired from Origin. Is coming out of Origin retirement, which I didn't know. So he must have been out for a couple of years, said that he didn't want to get selected anymore, but now, Freddie must have had a chat to him, which possibly may happen with Cameron Smith. We still don't know that last pick for Queensland. But yeah, so I guess it's the exact same as if Cameron Smith were to come back into Origin. And I didn't know. I'd completely forgot that Josh Morris had retired from Origin. But there you go, he's back.
Yeah, and a lot of people, for me, commented on this list, and I'm seeing it. Seeing it come through now. We've got Sherry over Chambers. You are kidding me. How many tries has Chambers scored this year? I believe it was that one try.
Yeah, and I haven't seen too much. Yeah, just watching the games as well. Will Chambers hasn't really added too much to Melbourne for me. It's been plays in other positions. In past years, Will Chambers has added a lot to the Melbourne side. However, this year he's really taken a step back, and there are other players, getting their input in. So you just can't have him in there.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And I would reply to Alex Newton, who's just put that in the chat there. How do you have Sherry over Chambers? Look, I know tries aren't everything, but we just saw Sherry score 3 tries in one game, and Will Chambers only has 3 tries in 10 appearances. And he's averaging 84 meters, which is typically very low for a centre, given, Curtis Scott's been in and out of that team, but even he's averaging up around 120 to 150. A lot of people, I'm seeing stuff like, where is Jack Bird? Please explain. Where is BJ Leilua? I saw that one also. Look, they've both injured and done for the year, so it doesn't make sense for us to include them for our top 10 headed into the second half of the NRL season.
And I'd add for Jack Bird as well. He wasn't exactly doing too much before he got injured either. Personally, I don't think he probably would have made the top 10 even if he wasn't injured. I mean, he had a couple of, fluky plays that came off where he would not even run it to the defence. He kept running, from one sideline to the other and passing the ball, and every now and then his winger, the opposite winger on the other side, would catch the ball and run and score. But, and he'd get praised for it. But other than that, he's not really provided much.
No, he definitely lost the compass on a few times there for the Broncos. So we'll go through the list, guys. Latrell Mitchell, clearly number 1. Number 2, Isan Masters, hugely underrated, the best offload of any centre. After round 1, him and Mahe Fanua had more offloads than the entire competition between them. I cut you off, man. You go on.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to add a general consensus. I don't know about you, but probably got the most negative feedback for in the centres. And I think people are purely just doing that because he's been a bit of a shit goal kicker this year. That's what he's become known for. Because, people have commented, oh, yeah, Masters is in there for his goal kicking, surely. I mean, we're not ranking goal kickers here. We're ranking, their on-field play, and they've been amazing. I believe, it might have been Greg Inglis last year. I know we're talking about this year, but I just want to add, it might have been Greg Inglis. It was definitely a more veteran setter. They got asked, who's the toughest center that you've come up against in your career, or, who's the best center you've come up against so far? And they said Isan Masters. So
that was Jermaine McGilvery, from the England team.
That would have been England versus New Zealand. Yeah,
he said Isan Masters. You're absolutely correct. One mistake we possibly have made that I can see here. A lot of people saying Michael Jennings, and he has had a good year.
Okay, yeah, he has, and we did discuss him, didn't we? Yeah,
he probably has played better than his brother Robert Jennings. Looking at the list now, I definitely would be happy to find room in there for Michael Jennings. Obviously, we need a bit more time to, think about that. Sam, get Josh Morris off the list. That is just crazy considering he's just been back. I think Hymel Hunt has shaded Ramian this year at the Knights. You know what? He has played better football than Ramian statistically. But the one area that Ramian does shit over all other centres, sorry for lack of a better term there, his tackle breaks. The dude is a unit. He has something like, I think, double tackle breaks, most centres that would be on that list. He breaks tackles, and although he isn't scoring tries himself, it's the second phase play that Mitchell Pearce and Kalen Ponga are able to capitalise on after that. He breaks the line through a tackle break, and that instantly has the defensive line scrambled. They're not set, and that gives Pearce and Ponga that extra half a second where Pearce can take it to the line, engage one or two defenders, then he's able to shift the ball to Ponga, who then has the extra room again. No one goes back to the original play of Jesse Ramian breaking the tackles, but that's what starts that entire play. So I'm definitely happy with Ramian being top 5.
Yeah, 100%. I think what some people were sort of getting wrapped up on is for certain positions, they need to be better in some statistics, not all of them. Mm-hmm. I was getting people, saying this player is statistically better than this player. And let's just say you're talking about two halves and they were talking about how many tackles that they made. Okay, yes, that's a good statistic. However, obviously passing the ball and kick meters is more for a half. So I think people forget that. It's not necessarily the statistics overall we were looking at. It's those key statistics that these players in these positions should be excelling at. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where some people might have got confused as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you do a top 10 list, it's subjective to a lot of opinion, and certainly not everyone always agrees with that. So rounding it out, guys, from the top to bottom again, Latrell Mitchell, Isan Masters, Josh Morris, Jared Croker, Jesse Ramian, Robert Jennings, Dane Gagai, Justin O'Neill, Brian Kelly, Bronson Sherry. Potential changes that we agree on is Michael Jennings potentially slipping into that top 10. And the other one was Hymel Hunt potentially slipping in there also. Top 10 debutants. We won't look into this one too much, guys, because we couldn't find a list that actually listed all debutants. So we were going off those we can remember. And in turn, we did forget Thomas McKaylee, the big front rower from West Tigers. He's had a pretty good year to date. So our top 10 debutants, as it stands, Nakora, Sivo, Sherry, Garrick, Corey Allen, Tommy Dearden, Ryan Pappenhausen, Chanel Harris-Davida, Tom Flegler, and Jesse Arthurs. Now, no matter which way you look at it, guys, one thing what you all have to agree on here is all 10 of those guys have pretty big futures within our sport. A couple people that were probably unlucky to miss out, as we said, Thomas McKaylee, Jaden Ockenbaugh, Hudson Young, Corey Hersborough, Patrick Herbert. I'm just scrolling down now. People commenting stuff like Garrick, what the F. He scored 18 points by himself and won Manly the game. People going Corey Allen. He's just been thrown into fullback like 10 games into his career. He's played exceptionally on the wing. He's done nothing wrong. I can't sit down and say for any games that Garrick or Allen has played very poor. For them to play consistently this early in their career is still impressive. Dylan Brown, we didn't consider him, guys, obviously because of
Yeah.
that lower back injury. Blake Brayley, that was a big one we forgot also. He definitely would be somewhere within that top 10. He looks like a crafty little hooker.
Yeah, I have heard arguments that he should be starting over his brother on a regular basis as well, which I don't know if he should yet, but he's looking good right now.
I don't think just yet. Before we move on, we'll quickly check the thing. Okay, guys, I knew this was coming. We spoke about it off camera. Bateman, top 10 debutants in a professional league, guys. The Super League is a professional first grade league. So therefore, we don't count players like John Bateman, Ryan Sutton, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Also, a lot of people, why Jesse Arthurs? Guys, I know a lot of people don't watch the Titans play, and fair enough. We're not the greatest team in the world. We are both Titans fans, so we watch them quite regularly. The fact he had one game on the bench and is now a starting centre, keeping former New South Wales Blue Tyrone Peachy to the bench, that's impressive. He's dangerous every time he touches the ball.
Yeah.
He has a future, guys, and I don't think it's crazy to have him just sitting there at number 10 either.
And you know what? Especially in his debut, who was it against again? Far out. Was it Newcastle when we beat Newcastle? I have a feeling it was. But anyway, in his debut, he was amazing. One of the best players on the park in his debut. He basically didn't do anything wrong, which you don't really see from someone on their debut. So he definitely set a benchmark for himself and got himself into that first grade squad on a regular basis.
Yeah, and people putting Patrick Herbert, he would have been in the discussion for us. He probably could have slipped into this top 10 as well, guys. Oh my goodness, choking. But in the end, we went with Jesse Arthurs.
Yeah, the main one that I sort of got was Tommy Dearden should have been higher, but he hasn't played that much. I mean, as much as some of the other guys on this list.
We just haven't seen enough from him yet.
That's right. And, to still make 6 is pretty good.
Oh, exactly, considering he's only had a couple games actually within first grade. Top 10 5'8", guys, top to bottom. Cody Walker, Luke Keary, Cameron Munster. That top 3, you can shuffle them around however you want, but they are the top 3 5'8" in the world. Jack White and Corey Norman round out the top 5 there. A little bit controversial. And then our bottom 5 there, 6 to 10, we've got Sean Johnson, Tyrone Roberts, Kieran Foran, Anthony Milford, Kane Elgey. A few controversial picks here. Benji Marshall was one that a lot of people wanted to see in there. You know what? He probably could be in there, but we had done this list before his amazing game on that Saturday night. We'd already well and truly finished the list, guys. And up until that point, he hadn't been doing too much this season. That was his best game of the year, and he's missed more games through injury than he's played. So,
look, he had a pretty good start to the season as well. However, has dipped off since then, I would argue, for Benji. Just if I can interject, though, the main negative I got from mine as well is that a lot of people believe Sean Johnson shouldn't have been on the list because he obviously hasn't played the whole season. My argument for that and a couple others was when you think about the top 10 5'8" in the NRL, because that is now his primary position, you just can't have Sean Johnson not in the top 10. You know what I mean? It's hard to say he's in there off name value. It's like, let's just say Cameron Smith had been injured, had played 2 games this season and had been injured, right? He still makes top 10 hookers in the NRL. It's just one of those things. You can't really leave them off the list. And another thing as well, when there aren't too many options that are playing well in a certain position, someone that does hold that name value and is generally very consistent, it is easier for them to actually get into the list as well because they've proven that they have played better than those other players out of form. So, that's the reason why Johnson was in there. If you agree with it, if you don't, that's up to you. But hey, it's not like we are the NRL and we are saying that he is the 6th best player in the NRL, 6th best 5'8" in the NRL. It's our opinion, so do what you want with it.
Just sliding into the live chat again here, guys. Joshua Blackman, where is Green? He is at halfback, mate. He's not a 5'8". I don't rate Foreign at all. I would argue he's in, pretty good form at the moment. Probably the best form he's been in for quite a long time. So
Yeah,
disrespectful to... Oh, sorry, go.
Just on foreign, he was one of the ones I remember specifically. He had decent stats. We specifically checked his stats because we thought foreign's been playing all right this season, but obviously we know he has been in a poor side, the Bulldogs, and hasn't played very well over the past couple of years. So we made sure that we checked it, and his stats are looking all right. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know for a fact that we did check Kieran Foran's stats, so he's in there.
Mm-hmm. Jet Stockton says, so disrespectful to Milford. Mate, we can't have short-term memories here. Up until round 6, people were calling for Milford to move to fullback or be dropped from this side. He's only just been able to string some form together, and this side is inclusive of all of 2019. What about Jack Cogger? Jack Cogger is nowhere near a top 10 5'8". I would argue he's not even the best 5'8" at his club, and Lockie Lewis should be there. Kurt Mann at 5'8", come on, he's played like one game there. Dylan Brown over Kieran Foran, again, injury. Watson, again, he's played a lot of fullback and off the bench. And a lot of people aren't happy with LG.
I didn't get much of LG. I got a comment here and there, but he didn't exactly dominate the comments for me. We got one here, for example, Benji over LG every day, but there was nothing specifically saying, LG shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
So...
I think LG's been able to string a little bit of form together, and I've been impressed in his ability to stand up in Cherry Evans' absence.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll move on to top 10 fullbacks now.
Beautiful.
Let's just say the top 3 was very easy on this list. Doesn't matter which ranking you have it in, but the top 3 fullbacks in the world are Tedesco, Tuivasa-Sheck, and Kalen Ponga. We put Chance Nickel-Klogstad at number 4 and rounded out the top 5 with Clint Gutherson. Chance Nickel-Klogstad obviously has been immense for the Raiders. They would not be looking this good without him.
Yeah, I had a comment. Sorry to interject again.
Yep.
I had a comment from someone on Facebook. Nickel who? I mean, you mustn't be watching too much rugby league then, or at least no Canberra Raider games, because, mate, Chance Nickel-Klogstad is now... He is no longer Chance Nickel who. He is Chance Nickel-Klogstad, the Canberra Raiders fullback.
All right, and so number 5, Clinton Gutherson. Sorry there, lost my way. Gutherson,
That's all right.
His stats are actually better than Tedesco, so it makes sense to have him in the top 5 this year. We've got Jerome Hughes at number 6 now. We wanted to put him in the top 5. We couldn't find a spot for him. So in the end, we threw him at number 6 there. How many times, guys, have you watched the Melbourne Storm this year and said, wow, they really miss Billy Slater? Wow, they really miss the most experienced fullback in the NRL. Wow, they really miss the former Queensland Maroon captain and Australian Kangaroo Billy Slater. Wow, they really miss the greatest fullback of all time. Not often, and that's because Jerome Hughes is exceptional. When he's not there, we've been able to witness bloody Ryan Pappenhausen come in, and he's just as exciting. Tom Trbojevic, number 7, controversial, but you just can't leave him out of the top 10. He's only played a couple games, but the games he has played have been so influential to his side, and he has influenced the outcome of that game. Number 8, Matt Duffy. Really tough. We got to the bottom here, guys, and as you'll be able to elaborate a bit more, we just couldn't really decide who our bottom 3 were, could we?
Not really. It was hard. We had to go through. We basically went through every fullback's stats, a couple of second string fullbacks too, and expectedly so. I was at least dominated with comments saying Duffy's been playing reserve grade half the season. How's he in there? Guys, we're forgetting just because some players make the top 10 list, and this is no disrespect to them, it's not because they've been good. It's because, there could be 2 players that are genuinely playing well in that position and the best haven't been that good, but because it's a top 10 list, we've got to have them in. We weren't saying in any way that Duffy was in form, but, he's the 8th best fullback in the competition when, there's 16 first-string fullbacks. He's 8th. He's on the halfway mark. You know what I mean? So when you put it in that perspective, he's not actually that high.
I'm just going through the chat now. Can't see too many arguments here. I assume most people sort of agree here. Alex Johnson and Michael Gordon round out the top 10. A lot of people here saying RTS over Teddy. That is not true when you look at them statistically. And I'm sick of people making the argument Tuivasa-Sheck is a better fullback. It's because he plays with a crap team. When he played for the Roosters, yes, he did average over 200 meters per game. But guys, this is a 2019 top 10 fullback list, not a 2016 top 10 fullback list. And I don't care that he plays for the Warriors. That is his choice, whether that's money incentive or he wants to live in New Zealand. It doesn't matter. We don't sit here and say Ashley Taylor would be a great halfback if he played for the Roosters. Let's not give him any crap. Because the fact is he's playing crap for the Titans and that is his club. So I'm sick of people making that argument that Tuivasa-Sheck would be better if he was at the Roosters, because he's not at the Roosters, and this isn't a fairy tale. This is rugby league, right?
Yeah, 100%. I've got a lot of people that made the same argument for Ponga to be first over Tedesco. I actually got a couple of people saying Tuivasa-Sheck should have been lower on the list, which...
Okay, no, I don't agree with that. I'm happy with him at 2.
Yeah.
Well, a big factor into why Ponga went 3 for us is the fact he played 5'8" for half the year. I mean, and he looked pretty terrible there. It wasn't his natural position.
And you know what? The thing as well with Tedesco, current premiership winning fullback, current New South Wales Origin winning fullback, he is playing in the best side in the competition. I know, as you just said, it doesn't matter the side, but he is playing in the best side of the competition, and he is one of their best players. It is hard in that Sydney Roosters team to pick out a lot of players who are the stars in the all-star team. He's one of them. So I think that alone, add in a few stats, he's first right now until proven otherwise.
Absolutely. There's so many comments on here of people just complaining. I've got about 200 between Instagram and Facebook, but again, no one's thrown forward their top 10. So,
just to add, fullback was my big one as well. That got a lot of comments on it too, and I got to agree, mainly negative. One of the ones that did actually pop up a fair bit though was people saying that Michael Gordon should have been higher on the list. They're saying Mr. Reliable, one of the best players in a poor Titans side so far this season, hasn't done anything too amazing, but has played a lot better than some of his teammates. And you know what? I agree, but on the list, a lot of these names have been doing that bit extra. Yeah, I love Flash, and a lot of people know that. But, I'm happy that a lot of people did, give him the credit he deserves and said that he should be a bit higher.
Yeah.
If it was another season, if there were certain other players out of form, he would have been higher on the list. But
absolutely.
And he hasn't played a full year either.
That's the biggest thing there. Before we move on, guys... Matthew Tabbert, absolutely agree with you, man. Moylan could be here for sure. The only problem was we didn't see him play the game on the weekend against the Dragons before we made this list. Had we have seen that before, we probably would have had him in the top 10, to be honest.
Yeah, but again, a big reason why he wasn't there was due to not playing a large portion of the season.
Yes, and now the argument people are making is Moylan's played more than Turbo. He has, but the games that Tom Trbojevic has played, he was absolutely undeniable in his presence on the field and his influence to the result. When he was against the Warriors in his first game back from a grade 2 hamstring tear, he set up 2 tries and scored 2. Yep. That is 16 points directly through him, not including the conversions that were hit after that. He is the reason they won that game. I cannot say that about one game for Moylan this year. And the other one that I'm seeing is, where is Darius Boyd? He's probably on the floor at Suncorp Stadium, having missed another tackle. And we will move on with that to our top 10 halfbacks. Reynolds. Top to bottom, we've got Reynolds, DCE, Pearce, Cronk, Townsend, Moses, Morgan, Hunt, Brooks, and Cleary. Now, our top 5 here was pretty easy to do, actually. It was just a matter of ranking them where they are.
Yeah.
Reynolds, number 1. Cherry Evans, number 2. Mitchell Pearce, number 3. Ooh, this is controversy, guys. How is Pearce number 3? He's just won man of the match 5 matches in a row, right?
Short memories.
Why have we got him at number 3?
It seems a lot of people do have short memories, a bit like Anthony Milford as well. Let's compare him to Adam Reynolds quickly, because a lot of people were saying he should have been above Reynolds. Adam Reynolds has played well throughout the season. We can all agree. From round 1 all the way up to round 11, he has played well. Mitchell Pearce started playing well in about round 6. And yes, he has had 5 man of the match performances in a row and has played amazingly since then. But we can't forget rounds 1 to 5. God love him, he was trying. He was trying. Mitchell Pearce's effort was there. He was trying to get something out of his team. You can put it on Kalen Ponga in the halves, not allowing Mitchell Pearce to play his natural game. He was trying to accommodate Kalen as much as he could. But the fact of the matter is, Mitchell Pearce put his hand up at the start of the season and said, this is my Newcastle Knights team. I am in control. And for at least the first 5 weeks of the season, we did not see that whatsoever. That's why Pearce is there.
Yeah, exactly. We would have loved to have him higher, but you got to factor in the whole season, right?
Yeah, give it a few more weeks, possibly first. I've got an argument for Cherry Evans as well. Obviously hasn't played the whole season and shouldn't be above Pearce. Again, from what we've seen from DCE so far this year, he has taken control, what Mitchell Pearce said he would do, and Manly have played great under him. So that's sort of what's happened with Mitchell Pearce there, yeah.
Other controversy around here, I'm just having a look. What have we got? People seem to be a little bit upset that Blake Green wasn't included within the
I got
top
that a
5.
little bit
And yeah, I can agree with that. He probably could have slipped in here just. Where is Sam Williams from the Raiders? Look, JD Scott, he's doing his job, but he's not standing up and putting forward a case with form to be a top 10 halfback. Cleary has copped a lot of smack this year. He's out of form, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But statistically, and we can't forget, we're inclusive of statistics on this list, his stats are far superior to Sam Williams. Yeah. So for that reason, he just can't be included there. Brodie Croft, no, I wouldn't say he's under the radar. I would just say he isn't a top 10 halfback at this stage of his career.
Cameron Munster's been doing the majority of the work, I'd say, for Melbourne.
Yeah,
Croft's come in when he's had to, but he hasn't been integral in Melbourne's success.
Yeah, exactly. You take. I've almost argued this, and I wouldn't be surprised if Bellamy goes this way after a loss. Croft to be dropped, Jerome Hughes back to halfback, and Ryan Pappenhausen to start at fullback, or Scott Drinkwater with Pappenhausen in 14 still. I'm not opposed to that because Smith and Munster are so ball dominant. Croft isn't able to either play his natural game, or maybe that's his orders to just sort of stand back and let the big guns run the show. We rounded out, guys, Moses, Morgan, Hunt, Brooks and Cleary. We think they're the next best 5, but you can have those in any order, and we really wouldn't argue because none are making such a compelling case for the top 5.
Yeah, look, just on one of the players who I dare say you would have got a bit of feedback for as well, Nathan Cleary. A lot of people said he shouldn't be on the list. Again, it's one of those ones that you have to think about, guys. He's not necessarily there because he's been playing well. There are 16 halfbacks in the comp. He is 10th. He is not even halfway up the list. But, you know, if you ask most people, he's not 16th there either. There are halfbacks that haven't played as well as him this season. The only reason why he's getting all the attention is because he's Nathan Cleary. He is playing at now what has become one of the biggest clubs in the NRL, the Penrith Panthers. Mm-hmm. You know, he was one of the young guns on that same level as Kalen Ponga, but now that he's having his first season of a bit of inconsistency, then he's copping a lot of the crap now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what a lot of people forget. It's a top 10, but if you're 10th, you're not even the half best in the competition. Is that a little kitty I hear in the background?
That is, she's just walked into the room. But you know what? If I don't give her any attention, then she'll just sit down and shut up. So
there you go.
Let's just deal with that.
Our top 10 hookers, we've got Damien Cook ahead of Cameron Smith. So that's 3/4 of the South spine, number 1. And of course, Alex Johnston was top 10. So their whole spine within these lists, I guess that shows why they're flying and playing so well at the moment. Cameron Smith, number 2. Josh Hodgson, Robbie Farah and Cam McInnes round out our top 5. We were pretty set with that top 5 and we were happy to have that there. Our bottom 5, we had Marnie, Granville, Fayenu, Radley and Levi. And the bottom 5 there, we weren't overly impressed by their form, or they didn't make a compelling case other than perhaps Reid Marnie. He's been exceptional. Possibly also Fayenu, and Granville has shown improvements as the season went on. But we'll refer to the live chat and we'll see
Yep.
if we're getting anything, any negative or any feedback here. We've got no Coruscant. Again, he averages 2 more minutes than Faenu a game, but Faenu's stats are far superior. Not far superior, but they're better in every aspect. I think Coruscant makes 2 more tackles a game, but Faenu makes more offloads, more meters, more tackle breaks, more line breaks, same amount of try assists, same amount of forced dropouts. So Faenu is better statistically, and we think Faenu's having a bigger outcome on the games.
Bigger season, yeah.
Levi should be higher. Jackson Stewart, potentially, but
that that's what.
How much higher is the question? How much higher is the question? I mean, has he been better than Marnie? Has he been better than Granville?
I mean, maybe above Radley, but that's one.
Mm-hmm.
That's one spot.
Yeah. Joshua Blackman says, "I'm sorry, Radley. Look, the fact is, their co-captain and normal hooker Jake Friend is out injured, and Victor Radley is stepping into a side that continues to win. When your side is winning and you're stepping in to a 2-time premiership winning co-captain shoes and doing the job consistently week in, week out, I would say you are a top 10 hooker in the NRL. And if anything, it does seem a little weird to have him at number 9. That's still below halfway. He's still in the bottom crop of hookers in our game. I'm not sure what Joshua's getting at there. I mean, how low would you actually have him? And who would you replace him with if not? Matty Tabbett says, what about Turpin? Yeah, he's been on fire, Matty, but again, he just hasn't played enough games, and he has shared minutes with James Seguiaro, which hurt his case a little bit. Seguiaro is an option that I'm seeing come in as well. Again, he hasn't played enough. The Brayley brothers are better than Levi or Radley. Yeah, I mean...
possibly.
Yeah, Jaden Bradley could possibly crack into this list. I wouldn't be completely opposed to that at all. And then that's really all we've got there. So, I'm happy with that feedback, guys. In particular, I think we agree Jaden Brayley could probably go a little higher on the list. Top 10 locks, guys. Tamalolo, Arrow, Jake Travojevic, Maguire, Finucane, Murray. What is Murray doing at number 6? That was what I got a lot. Gallen, Glasby, Laurie, and Fisher Harris. Now, pause, and I'll get Cam Murray out of the way first, guys, because I know that is going to smash the chat here, and it certainly has smashed the chat on Facebook and Instagram. Look, Cameron Murray has been great this year, but look who's above him before you get on your high horse. Dale Finucane has made more tackles. He is a veteran, and he does his job every single week for the Melbourne Storm. He is such an unsung hero. He averages... over 100 meters. He just does his job week in, week out. And I know Murray does that also, but defensively, Finucane is much stronger. Josh Maguire. When Tamalolo was out, he was up around 200 meters every week. Absolutely crazy stats. 40 tackles, 200 meters. Playing career best football. Jake Travojevic. New South Wales lock. Arguably...
Need to say more.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Jai Arrow, number 2. If you watch the Titans games, guys, I will not need to explain that. He has 2 hit-ups a set on some stages. He averages about 150 to 200 meters a game. He is a freak on defense. You can't have him lower than number 2 for the amount of influence he's had on that team. And Tamalolo, 1. The only thing I would be happy with, the only changes I would pump Murray up to 5, and I'll drop Finucane to 6. But I could not have him higher at this stage of his career.
Yeah, I can't see Cameron Murray going up above some of these names either. All I really got was mainly Josh Maguire saying that, he wasn't signed to the Cowboys to play lock. Yeah, but he has played lock while Taumaloli's been out. It doesn't matter if he's been the second string lock. He's played there, and as you said, he has excelled there while Taumaloli's been out. Mm-hmm. The other one I got too was someone commenting that none of these players are actually locks. Do you watch rugby league?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
I mean, maybe Maguire, because that's not his primary position. Well, it's not his primary position at the Cowboys, but the rest of these guys look like locks to me. Also, I got a comment saying that Victor Radley should have been in the top 10 locks because of how good he's been. And they said, I know he's been playing at hooker, but his primary role is a lock, so he should be in top 10 locks. So apparently I should have been putting someone in top 10 locks who had been playing well at hooker. So, yeah, that's a couple of little silly comments, I guess you could say.
Yeah, definitely.
On the lock position.
Looking through the chat now, people want to have Lachlan Burr in there. We looked at Burr, but he just hasn't been averaging too much, too good there, actually. I thought he'd played a lot better than he had, I'll say that. A lot of people want James Fisher-Harris higher. Guys, he misses the second most tackles in the NRL. His teammate James Maloney is the only one that misses more. Whilst he is top 10 for tackles made, the ratio there is, obviously, you don't want to be top 10 for most missed tackles.
No.
A lot of people do want Murray higher. Paul Gallen isn't a lock. What?
He's played second rower and prop, but he's a lock. He's the lock. He's a lock. Just because they've played in other positions before doesn't mean that they can't be a lock.
I'm flabbergasted. I don't know what to say. And King Yeatus says, my boy Ryan Sutton. Yeah, Ryan Sutton could definitely maybe sneak into this list at number 10, given James Fisher-Harris's missed tackles. But he also, I think Fisher-Harris, despite his missed tackles, adds a little bit more to this Panthers pack, more so than Sutton does to the Raiders.
Yeah.
Top 10 props, baby. Let's go. Clemmer, Takiaho, Paul Vaughan, Andrew Fafita, Martin DePau, and Fanua Blake, Payne Haas, Tamo, Papali, and Alex Twile. Clemmer, number 1. No real arguments. Number 2, Takiaho. Again, if you check out this guy's stats, there's no argument at all. Number 3, Paul Vaughan, Andrew Fafita, and Martin DePau. How you have those three, between positions 3, 4, and 5, we don't mind. I think we weren't definitely set on that order, but we were ultimately happy with it. And then we had Fanua Blake, Payne Haas. How can you not have him in this list? Tamo, probably controversial, guys, but when you check his stats, they are very, very good in an underperforming Panthers pack. Papali, a bit of an unsung hero at the Raiders there. And Alex Twile, purely for his defense. He gets through a mountain of tackles and 96% tackle efficiency, guys. That means, out of 100 tackles, 4 of his tackles will not be efficient, where he gets the player to the ground, slows that play the ball down, and gets set at marker. That's pretty good odds, and probably not who I'm going to be running at if I'm an attacker. We'll have a little look through the comments now and see what we have. Clemmer, easily number 1. We agree. Shout out to Trent23. Thanks for the kind words, man. Haas, way higher. Just haven't seen enough yet. We haven't seen enough to rank him. I mean, how much higher is the question, Luke Britton? Because for me, I can't even rank him above Adam Fanua Blake for what he's done for Manly at the moment. Haas should be second. No way can you have him higher than Takiaho and Andrew Fafita, etc.
I got a lot of people upset that Jared Waerea-Hargreaves wasn't included.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, just look at the names that we've got.
Yeah, there's a lot of great props in the game. Parsy's coming through. Yes, he was considered, guys. James Graham was considered. Aiden Tolman was considered. In the end, we just couldn't fit them in this side. But can we do best players off bench? No, we've finished up the top 10 series now, Daniel. We're just doing a quick review now to, I guess, finalise it all. As we go to top 10 wingers, Corey Oates, Josh Adokar, Mamalo, Ferguson, Pereira, Sivo, Lee, Graham, Kotrick, Daniel, Tupou. Corey Oates, number 1 winger. I think that was pretty easy for us to decide.
Yeah, although I did cop a little bit of flack for Oates being at number 1. Someone said that, I'll read the quote out, Oates at number 1, ? My ass. Adokar is so much better, and if it's based off stats, then the stats are bullshit. I mean, it's hard to argue with Corey Oates' stats, who has been dominating the stats. Okay. Oh. And they said the Fox is best by far. And I said, if you look at Oates' stats, though, they are hard to argue with. And I didn't get a reply for that, because...
That is great, bro.
How do you argue?
When your argument doesn't add up, so you just call the stats bullshit.
What is it? Meters gained? Is it post-contact meters? He hasn't got the most, but I know he's doing pretty well in those categories. Try scored, I think he's got about 9 this season. maybe if you were saying from what you've seen, Adokar looks better, but statistically, stats don't lie, guys. I
No,
mean,
exactly.
that's all I can say. Stats don't lie.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of those comments too. You're kidding. I always thought this column had some idea. I'm starting to wonder now in regards to Oates being over Adokar.
Oh my god. Guys.
Yeah, I mean, well. So yeah, we got Adokar next. Ken Mamalo. A lot of people are unhappy with him being at the top there.
Sorry to cut in. I thought I might have got a bit on, but I haven't actually got too much on Ken Mamalo. Most people seem to be okay that he's there, which I did find surprising. So it's not a surprise to me that you would have got a bit of feedback on him.
Yeah, I mean, I got a lot of feedback on a lot of this list. You guys suck. Fusatu'a should be here. Kotrick at 9. Ha ha. Where's Corey Thompson? Why is Pereira there? Is this a sick joke? Mamalo is average. Where's Sean Kenny-Dow? Where's Dallin Wateni-Zelezniak? Where's Kyle Felt? Where's Vunivalu?
I got Felt.
I mean...
Yeah, Kyle Felt's the one that stood out for me. I got a lot of feedback on him. One person saying, no Felt, no idea. Heavily underrated. I have him top 5, amazing finisher, strong carries, solid defensively, massive kickoff, and goal kicks. He hasn't played the whole season. I mean, he's been one of those guys as well, and he hasn't, to me, stood out. He hasn't exactly played too bad, but he hasn't stood out, when he has played. So
exactly. We had Blake Ferguson at number 4. Probably would have had him maybe at 3, but we thought Ken Mamalo played a little bit better, and we had seen the Thursday night game prior to making this list. John Pereira, my goodness. John Pereira, top 5. Well, look, in a Saints side that have had their outside backs chopped and changed, one person has remained solid. That is Jordan Pereira. He breaks a lot of tackles. He scores a lot of tries. He makes a lot of line breaks. He does everything right. Maker Sivo, number 6. He's been great. Edric Lee, he's having a great year too. Campbell Graham started the year very strong. Probably slacked off a little bit, but because it is inclusive of the whole year, he is within our top 10. Nick Kotrick, number 9, and Daniel Tupou at number 10. And that wraps up our top 10. We've gone through them all. We've been going for 51 minutes. I'm happy to go through to an hour. If you guys want to put some questions through in the chat, we're happy. I mean, are you happy to stick around for a little bit more?
I'm more than happy to stick around for a little bit.
Awesome. I'll just get this image slideshow down. There we go. So, so if you guys send in some questions, I know you guys are a little bit behind on the stream, but they should start coming in soon. We'll answer questions for the last 10 minutes now, and that'll round out a YouTube 1 hour live chat. How far behind are we? I'll just listen on the thing. Questions for the last 10 minutes now, and that'll round out a YouTube 1 hour. Okay, perfect. Here come the questions now. Who do you think has been the best rookie of 2019? Oz, I will say Britton Nakora.
You can't really go past Britton Nakora. I know a lot of people are saying Payne Haas, however, he did debut last year. Purely off players who have debuted this season, Britton Nakora.
How many games did Payne Haas play last year? Is he still eligible for Rookie of the Year?
I believe it was only 1 or 2 games. Okay, I don't actually think he played that much, yeah. A lot of people were saying he should have actually been on our list, but it was debutants. So,
exactly.
Yeah, that's where people getting mixed up.
Knights, pretenders or contenders. We did this on the Set of 6 podcast, guys. We did it with every team. I have the Knights as contenders at this stage. I think there's still a lot of growth, but the only worrying side for me is the amount of responsibility that falls on Mitchell Pearce's shoulders. If he's having an off day, the Knights are having an off day. And I think when you hand one player that much responsibility, it's dangerous. The argument can be made, Cooper Cronk has that same sort of responsibility at the Roosters, and they won a premiership last year. But I would argue that James Tedesco, Jake Friend, and Luke Keary were just as instrumental to their season as Cooper Cronk. Whereas when I go to the Knights, Mitchell Pearce has a strong fullback in Kalen Ponga. He doesn't have a strong 5'8" next to him. And Danny Levi is improving, but he's still not a proven option at hooker at this stage of his career. I don't even think he's played finals football yet either. So, yes, they're contenders, but I am worried so much responsibility falls on Pearce.
I've got the Pretenders, and I've copped a lot of crap saying that I'm not keeping as much as an open mind, and I'm just going for boring picks because I've got them fourth, but I've got them Pretenders. I think the only real contenders this year at the end of the season we'll see are the Sydney Roosters, South Sydney Rabbitohs, and Melbourne Storm. But as the season goes on, if they keep playing the way they have, then I'll have them as contenders. But right now, they are still pretenders to me. For the argument that even you put forth, the Roosters, Storm, and Rabbitohs all have an all-star team across the park. There is nearly no one that you can say isn't either a rising star or is a star player. Newcastle, there are a couple. Their star players are Pearce, Ponga, Watson at times, although not as much. Danny Levi is, as you said, he's a good player. He's getting better, but he's not at that stardom level. You've got David Clemmer, and I'd argue probably the rest of the side, while they are good players and they are playing well, they're not all-star, if you know what I mean. So I've got them pretenders, yeah.
All right, there's so many questions coming in. I keep scrolling me down. Joshua Blackman, thoughts on the Warriors making the top 8? At this stage of the year, I've got them missing, just too inconsistent.
Yeah, I don't have them there either. Again, that risky style of football, free-flowing style, it does cost them a fair bit, and I think it'll continue to cost them throughout the season. They might go from here on out on a bit of a losing streak. But I know that Clarkey, if you've seen the podcast on Wednesday, Clarkey thinks that they're going to beat the Roosters in the grand final 50-0 So
this is a stitch up.
At least one person's on your side, eh? So
this is a stitch up. Alec It, who has been the best Bulldog this year? I'll say Remy Smith.
Remy Smith or Jaden Ockenball. I've liked Ockenball a lot.
Good choice. Sidewinder 720. Thoughts on the best place to hot drop in Apex Legends? Well, Sidewinder, you are talking to a top 2,000 Pathfinder in the whole world in a game that 50 million people play. And I don't hot drop because you just can't get enough loot and you end up with white shields. It's not worth it. Back onto football.
What was that all about? I have no idea.
It's like the new Apex game. It's so fun. When you message me to write columns or do videos and I say I'm busy, I'm actually secretly playing that game. How do I get the NRL to unblock me on Instagram? King Yeetus, just don't mess with him, man. I commented once, like if Billy Slater should have been suspended in regards to his shoulder charge against the Sharks, and I got a warning for bullying and harassment. They said, if this strike occurs again, we will shut down your page. And I was like, what? Anyway, do Roosters drop off if Kiri is gone for 2 to 4 weeks? No, I think it's better for them in the long run because Latrell Mitchell will have more time to develop at 5'8", and it gives him a chance to develop his game with the greatest halfback playing the NRL at the moment, Cooper Cronk. If he didn't have this opportunity with this year, Cooper Cronk will have retired and he'll be learning under Luke Keary, who has learnt under Adam Reynolds and Cooper Cronk. But it's best to get it from the man himself, and that is Cooper Cronk. I'm getting a little jumbled my words there. So I think, obviously you'd rather have Luke Keary at the 6, but I don't think it's terrible Latrell gets to experience a game in the halves alongside Cooper Cronk.
The Roosters are a side where even a star player, if one player gets injured, they're an all-star team. They're all amazing. Either a young gun will come through or, Latrell Mitchell will move into the halves and they should be right. It's not going to take one player to unravel the Sydney Roosters season. It's just not.
Yeah, well said. Jacob Thompson, who is the most underrated player in the NRL? I've got Jordan Pereira from the St. George Illawarra Dragons.
Look, my answer is always going to be Michael Gordon overall. It's hard for me to say this season. There's not one player that actually jumps out at me. Maybe I am going to have to go with my boy Corey Allen. And I know Jacob Thompson might have a bit of a giggle at that because we always argue who's better, Corey Allen or Britt Nakora. It's a bit more clear who it is right now. But Corey Allen hasn't exactly got the props he deserves for what he's been doing for South Sydney. It hasn't been too much, but I feel like he's exceeding expectations.
Mm-hmm. We have Queensland or New South Wales. I'm Queensland, Josh, and Oliver is New South Wales. Illuminati, we both think the Cowboys and Broncos are missing the top 8. Trent, 23. Maroons or Blues off team lists. I don't even want to begin to answer that because footy just isn't played on a piece of paper. And when you put, 17 of the best players from each state in a side, anyone is capable of winning on any given day. But I would say slightly leaning towards the Blues in terms of form from what we've seen within the NRL away from Origin.
I'd say New South Wales too. And I thought to myself, as soon as I looked at the Blues list, obviously released the night before Queensland, I looked and I said, no matter what team Queensland picks, New South Wales will be the better team on paper.
Yeah.
There was just not going to be any way around it. Yeah.
Top 5 coaches at the moment, I'll say, and I'm sure you'd probably have to agree, Robinson, Bellamy, Bennett, Hasler, and Garth Brennan. No, I'm just kidding. And probably Nathan Brown,
Definitely.
given he's just gotten 5 in a row.
Look, right now, yes, but overall out of current coaches, if we're not just talking about this year, in no order, Craig Bellamy, Wayne Bennett, Trent Robinson, and Des Hasler. Des Hasler, well, the 4. I don't think there's a 5th if we're talking, throughout the years, because Hasler would be a little bit of a controversial one due to the past couple of years, but, more of that was the financial side of things. He can coach a team. That's put in front of him. He can coach a team. He loves to coach his team even better. And it just shows how good of a coach he is that he is coaching a team to success that he hasn't put together.
Exactly. All right, guys, 3 more questions we'll take. We've just gone over the hour mark. ML, and then thoughts on Ryan Madison as 18th man rather than 14th man. Really happy with this choice. I'm happy with Jack Whiten as the 14th man. Probably a little bit more versatile than Ryan Madison. And I think this will actually work in favour of Ryan Madison because Jack Whiten will be coming into camp and making his debut this year. Ryan Madison will have a chance, as you touch on, Oliver, in some of your videos, to come in, familiarise himself with the feel of camp, familiarise himself with the culture and the team and what Origin is all about without actually having to step on the field and experience it. So when he does make his debut later in his career, he's more well equipped on how to handle the nerves, how to handle being around great other players, how to handle all of everything that's involved with Origin that obviously we would never know about, but the players would.
Yeah, I can't really disagree with that. He's definitely been in Origin form, I'd argue, and, for someone who hasn't debuted in an Origin yet, getting picked as 18th man is almost as good as getting picked in the starting 17. So good on him.
If Wayne Bennett wins a premiership at the Rabbitohs for 3 different clubs, does that make him the number 1 coach? Yes.
I can't personally say it's a yes for me because I've seen Wayne Bennett coach, but apparently, from what I've heard from his teams that I've seen play, Jack Gibson was an amazing coach, an absolute masterclass. They are definitely 1 and 2, whatever order you want to put them in. I'd say the older generation would have Jack Gibbo number 1, Bennett number 2. For me, Bennett is number 1 because I've seen him coach. But, any time I say that Wayne Bennett is the number 1 coach, I've at least got to give a shout out to Jack Gibson just because of what he did.
Yep. Last question, guys. Daniel LaSpinner. Are the Blues making an error with only 1 prop who is a rookie on the bench? Yes, I think they are. I would have had Cameron Murray out, and I would have had Dale Finucane in the side. He can also play front row if required, and he's gritty, he's hardworking, and I think if the going gets very tough, you're going to get more from Dale Finucane than you will Cam Murray, despite Murray being able to give you a little bit more in attack.
Yeah, and you know what? No matter the position, you've got 2 debutants coming off the bench. Actually, I don't mean, it doesn't matter the position. With the backs, it's usually okay because they'll start and, it just seems that they can cope under the pressure a bit more. But, you've got 2 young forwards on the bench who Payne Haas is in his first full season of first grade. Cam Murray is basically in his second. There's not a lot of experience on that bench. And, especially with Jack Whiten, who, yes, he's played for a few years. He's a debutant as well, coming off the bench. And Gus Crichton has only played 1 Origin before. You're not going to have a lot, of Origin experience coming off that bench. So, and I'd never really thought about that till that question got asked. So,
It's definitely an
Yeah,
insightful, good question. All right,
yeah,
guys, that is going to wrap up our top 10 breakdown and I guess just a little bit of a YouTube live video. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the video. I mean, there's about 40 people here for the entire duration, so we do
beautiful.
appreciate you stopping by. And to the ones that put in the questions and chatted chatted over the top 10, give their opinions. I thought that was awesome and really appreciate your company tonight, guys. If you have any other questions that we missed on the stream, the best place to get us both is on Instagram at NRL in my opinion or at clarkeys.nrl.column. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We really do appreciate your company, and I'll hand over to you, Oz, to say goodbye.
Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next time, likely on this Set of Six podcast.